Think for a moment. Imagine that a single word, spoken almost automatically at the end of a prayer, carries within it a hidden code far older than any religion, older than sacred books, older even than the structured act of prayer itself. A word so familiar that it passes unnoticed through the lips of billions, yet so ancient that entire civilizations aligned their understanding of the cosmos around its meaning. Think about how many times you have spoken this word without ever questioning what you were truly affirming. Now imagine discovering that this word existed long before temples, doctrines, or religious institutions, and that its true purpose reaches far beyond what you were taught. Remain here, because what will be revealed at the end of this journey is the most important and powerful insight of all, and it has the potential to transform the way you understand faith, consciousness, and reality itself. The word Amen appears deceptively simple. It is short, familiar, and often uttered without thought. Yet simplicity is often the mask worn by the most profound truths. Across cultures, continents, and centuries, this single word has endured almost unchanged. It closes prayers, seals intentions, and marks the transition from spoken desire to silent trust. But why this word? Why not another? Why has Amen survived the rise and fall of empires, the birth of religions, and the rewriting of spiritual traditions? To uncover this mystery, we must step beyond surface-level interpretations and enter the realm of ancient wisdom, where words were not symbols but forces. In the modern world, language is mostly descriptive. In the ancient world, language was creative. To speak was to act, to name was to invoke, and to affirm was to align oneself with the unseen order governing existence. Before we continue deeper, if you feel drawn to hidden knowledge, timeless wisdom, and truths passed quietly from generation to generation, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share this video with those who feel the same inner call. Comment as you listen, because reflection is not passive. The questions you ask and the insights you share may awaken something not only in you but in others walking this path of discovery. What you are about to hear contains revelations that can change how you perceive life and the universe. To truly understand Amen, scholars invite us to look far earlier than the Abrahamic traditions. Researchers such as James Henry Breasted, Gerald Massey, and Manly P. Hall emphasize that the roots of Amen reach deep into ancient Egypt. Long before later religions emerged, Amen or Amun was revered not simply as a deity, but as a cosmic principle. Amun was known as the Hidden One, the invisible source from which all visible creation arises. He was not defined by form, image, or limitation, but by concealment, mystery, and infinite presence. This distinction is crucial. Amun was not worshipped merely as a god among others. He represented the unseen intelligence behind all manifestation, the force that exists before form, before light, before sound. When the ancient Egyptians spoke the name Amen, they were not concluding a ritual. They were invoking the hidden foundation of reality itself. Egyptologists such as E.A. Wallace Budge documented that sacred speech in Egypt was deeply connected to cosmic law, known as Ma'at, the principle of harmony, truth, and balance. Words spoken in alignment with Ma'at were believed to participate directly in creation. They did not describe reality. They shaped it. Amen functioned as a statement of alignment, a declaration that what had been spoken was now harmonized with the hidden order of the universe. This sheds new light on the modern translation of Amen as, "so be it." While not incorrect, this translation barely scratches the surface. In its ancient understanding, Amen meant far more than agreement. It signified truth that is unshakable, stability that is eternal, and alignment with the unseen source behind all things. It was a confirmation that the words spoken were no longer personal wishes, but expressions of universal law. Consider this carefully. If Amen is connected to the hidden source of existence, what happens when it is spoken unconsciously? What happens when a word designed to seal intention and align consciousness is repeated mechanically, without awareness? And more importantly, what becomes possible when it is spoken with understanding, intention, and presence? Mystery schools throughout history taught that sound and vibration are fundamental to reality. Pythagoras taught that the universe is structured through harmony and number. Plato hinted that the soul responds to certain sounds because they reflect cosmic order. Hermetic philosophy later crystallized this understanding with the principle that the universe is mental and vibrational in nature. Within this framework, Amen is not merely linguistic, it is vibrational. The sound itself carries meaning. It begins with an open breath, symbolizing emergence from the unseen, and ends with a resonant closure, symbolizing completion and grounding. This movement mirrors the process of creation itself, from hidden intention to manifested form. This is why the sound of Amen appears across traditions with minimal alteration. Even when languages changed, the vibration remained. Ask yourself this: why would such a powerful word be placed at the end of prayers? Is it truly an ending, or is it something else entirely? What if Amen was never meant to conclude a prayer, but to activate it? As we move forward, we will explore how Amen connects to consciousness, intention, and the human capacity to participate in creation. We will examine how this word was understood by initiates, mystics, and philosophers, and why its true power has been hidden in plain sight. And later we will reveal the most profound truth of all: why Amen exists before any prayer, not after it. Pause now and reflect. If words shape reality, and Amen seals alignment with the hidden source, how might your life change if you spoke it with awareness rather than habit? Imagine now that we move even deeper, beyond history books and linguistic explanations, into the realm where consciousness itself meets vibration. Because to truly grasp the hidden code behind Amen, we must understand how ancient civilizations perceived the relationship between sound, mind, and reality. For them, sound was not secondary to matter. Sound came first. Thought came first. And from thought and sound all form emerged. In the ancient world, especially within Egyptian, Hermetic, and later mystical traditions, creation was understood as a process that began in silence. Before light, before movement, before form, there was the hidden source. This source was unknowable, invisible, and beyond description. Amun represented this mystery, not a god with a face, but the principle of what cannot be seen yet sustains everything that is seen. When Amen was spoken, it was an acknowledgement of that source. It was a moment of conscious alignment with the origin of all things. Gerald Massey wrote extensively about how ancient sacred words carried layers of meaning that were lost over time. He emphasized that Amen was not invented by religion, but inherited by it. This is a critical distinction. Religion adopted Amen because it already held power. It already resonated deeply within the human psyche. It already functioned as a seal of truth and authority. Organized belief systems did not create its power. They recognized it. This explains something remarkable. Amen appears in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and even echoes in Eastern traditions through similar vibrational affirmations. Despite vast theological differences, this word remained untouched. Think about that. Religions changed laws, doctrines, rituals, and moral codes, yet this word survived intact. That alone suggests that its importance transcends belief systems. In Hebrew tradition, Amen is associated with firmness, reliability, and truth. It implies something that is established and trustworthy. In this context, when Amen is spoken, it is a declaration that what has been said stands firm beyond doubt. In early Christian mysticism, Amen was understood as a confirmation that the prayer aligned with divine will, not personal desire. In Islamic tradition, its usage also reflects affirmation and surrender to higher truth. Different paths, same vibrational essence. But there is another layer that is rarely discussed. Ancient initiates understood that Amen did not merely affirm words, it aligned consciousness. To say Amen was to bring the mind, the heart, and intention into coherence. This coherence is what allowed words to carry power. Without alignment, speech was empty. With alignment, speech became creative. Modern science is only now beginning to echo these ancient insights. Researchers studying consciousness and vibration suggest that intention combined with focused awareness can influence perception, emotion, and even physical outcomes. While the language is different, the principle is the same. When thought, emotion, and intention are aligned, they generate measurable effects. The ancients understood this intuitively. Amen was one of the tools they used to create this alignment. Consider how often prayers are spoken today as a list of requests. People ask, hope, and plead, then close with Amen, often without presence. But in its original sense, Amen was not a polite ending. It was a moment of inner stillness, a pause in which the speaker aligned with the unseen source and affirmed that what had been spoken was now entrusted to universal order. This brings us to an uncomfortable but necessary question. If Amen is a word of alignment and truth, what happens when it is spoken after words that are not aligned with truth, clarity, or higher intention? What happens when fear, doubt, or contradiction are sealed with a word designed to affirm reality? Mystical traditions taught that words carry consequences, not as punishment but as resonance. When you affirm something, you strengthen it within your consciousness. Amen amplifies what precedes it. This is why initiates were taught to speak carefully, pray consciously, and affirm intentionally. Amen was powerful precisely because it did not discriminate. It confirmed whatever was spoken before it. Manly P. Hall hinted at this when he wrote that sacred words function as keys. A key does not judge what door it opens, it simply opens. Amen is such a key. It opens the door between intention and manifestation. This is why understanding it matters so deeply. Now reflect on this. If Amen amplifies intention, then its true power depends on awareness. The word itself has not lost its force. What has been lost is understanding. And when understanding fades, power becomes unconscious. As we continue, we will explore how Amen relates to the structure of consciousness itself, how it interacts with belief, faith, and inner authority, and why ancient initiates placed such emphasis on silence before and after speaking it. And later, we will uncover the most profound insight of all, the one that fulfills the promise made at the beginning, revealing why Amen exists before any prayer, not merely at its end. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what intentions have you sealed throughout your life without realizing it, and what might change if you reclaimed conscious authority over your words? Share your reflections in the comments, because your insight may illuminate something for someone else. Now let us go even deeper, beyond language, beyond religion, and into the inner mechanics of consciousness itself, because the true secret behind Amen is not only historical or linguistic, it is experiential. It lives in the relationship between awareness, intention, and the unseen field from which reality arises. Ancient initiates understood something that modern spirituality often forgets. Prayer was never about asking. It was about aligning. To pray was not to beg an external force, but to attune oneself to the hidden intelligence already operating within and around all things. In this context, Amen functioned as a moment of inner authority. It was the point at which the individual stepped out of doubt and into certainty. This is why silence was so important in ancient rites. Before speaking sacred words, initiates were trained to enter stillness. Silence was not empty. Silence was full. It was the space where the hidden source could be sensed rather than conceptualized. Only after this inner alignment would words be spoken, and only then would Amen be used, not casually, but deliberately, as a confirmation that the speaker and the source were in resonance. Hermetic philosophy teaches that the universe is mental. This does not mean imaginary. It means that mind precedes matter, thought precedes form, intention precedes outcome. Within this framework, Amen operates as a stabilizing force. It anchors intention into the mental fabric of reality. It is the moment when thought crystallizes into direction. This explains why ancient mystics warned against speaking without awareness. They believed that unconscious speech weakened inner power, conscious speech strengthened it. Amen, when spoken with awareness, was believed to seal the mind in a state of coherence. Coherence between thought, emotion, and will. This state was considered sacred because it mirrored the harmony of the cosmos itself. Carl Jung, though not speaking directly about Amen, touched on a related truth when he wrote about symbols and archetypes embedded in the collective unconscious. Certain words, sounds, and images carry power because they resonate across time and culture. Amen is one of these archetypal sounds. It bypasses intellect and speaks directly to something ancient within the psyche. That is why it feels natural, familiar, almost instinctive. But here is where the hidden code becomes even more profound. Amen is not only an affirmation of what has been said, it is an affirmation of being. When spoken consciously, it says, "This is aligned with who I truly am. This is aligned with the deeper order of existence. This is true not because I want it, but because it resonates with what is." This distinction changes everything. Most people pray from a place of lack. They ask because they feel separate. They hope because they doubt. But Amen, in its original sense, was spoken from a place of unity. It assumed alignment. It assumed coherence. It assumed that the speaker was not separate from the source, but an expression of it. Ask yourself this question carefully. What if prayer was never meant to change the universe, but to change the state of the one praying? And what if Amen was the key that completed that transformation? Ancient texts hint that those who truly understood sacred words did not repeat them excessively. They used them sparingly. Power in these traditions was not in repetition, but in precision. Amen was powerful because it was final. Not final as an ending, but final as a point of certainty beyond which doubt could not pass. This is why Amen appears at the end of prayers, not to close communication, but to close uncertainty. It marked the moment when the speaker released attachment to outcome and rested in alignment. The work was done inwardly. What followed outwardly was no longer forced but allowed. Modern seekers often search for new techniques, new affirmations, new formulas. Yet the ancient wisdom reminds us that the most powerful tools are often the ones we have used all along without understanding. Amen has been spoken for thousands of years, quietly carrying its code through generations, waiting for awareness to return to it. As we approach the final and most important revelation, hold this idea gently. If Amen is a declaration of alignment with the hidden source, then its true power depends entirely on the state of consciousness from which it is spoken. The word has not changed, humanity has. In the final part, we will reveal the deepest truth of all. Why Amen does not truly belong at the end of prayer, why it exists before any prayer is spoken, and how understanding this can transform not only the way you pray, but the way you live. Take a moment now, breathe, reflect, and ask yourself, what would it mean to live in a state where Amen is not something you say, but something you embody? Now we arrive at the final and most powerful revelation, the one promised from the beginning. The truth that transforms everything you thought you knew about Amen prayer and your relationship with reality itself. The greatest misunderstanding about Amen is its placement. Humanity was taught to see it as an ending, but ancient wisdom reveals something far more radical. Amen does not belong at the end of prayer. It exists before any prayer is ever spoken, before words form in the mind, before intention becomes language, before desire turns into request. There is a state of being, a state of alignment, presence, and inner authority. This state is Amen. In the most ancient understanding, Amen was not primarily a word. It was a condition of consciousness, a recognition of alignment with the hidden source. When initiates said Amen, they were not asking reality to comply. They were affirming that they were already aligned with the deeper order governing existence. From that alignment, words naturally carried power. This is why Amen existed before prayer, because prayer in its original form emerged from Amen, not toward it. The individual first entered alignment with the hidden source. Only then did speech arise. Only then did intention flow. The spoken prayer was not an attempt to convince the universe. It was an expression of harmony already achieved. This changes the entire paradigm of spirituality. It means that power does not come from asking harder, repeating more, or hoping stronger. Power comes from alignment, from coherence, from inner certainty. Amen was the inner state that made prayer effective, not the ritual that completed it. Manly P. Hall hinted at this when he wrote that the true initiate does not pray to change the will of the divine, but to align the self with it. Amen was the declaration of that alignment. It said, not in words but in essence, I am in harmony with the hidden source from which all things arise. This is why Amen has endured, not because of tradition, but because truth sustains itself. Even when meaning was forgotten, the vibration remained. Humanity kept saying Amen because something deep within remembered what the mind no longer understood. Now consider the implication. If Amen is a state of consciousness, then prayer spoken without it becomes empty repetition, but prayer spoken from it becomes creation. The words matter less than the state from which they arise. This is why ancient teachings emphasized inner preparation over outward ritual, silence before speech, awareness before words, presence before petition. They understood that without alignment, speech disperses energy. With alignment, speech concentrates it. So when you say Amen unconsciously, it still carries vibration, but its power is unfocused. When you say it consciously, it becomes a seal of authority. Not authority over others, but authority over your own mind, intention, and direction. This leads to the final realization. Amen is not something you say to end prayer. Amen is something you live. To live in Amen is to act from coherence rather than contradiction, from clarity rather than confusion, from unity rather than separation. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions align, your life itself becomes a prayer. Spoken words become secondary. Silence becomes eloquent. Presence becomes powerful. This is the hidden code behind Amen. Not a secret word reserved for the few, but a forgotten state available to all. It existed before prayer, because it is the foundation from which all true prayer arises. Now ask yourself this, and let it settle deeply. What would change in your life if you stopped using Amen as an ending and began embodying it as a way of being? If this revelation resonated with you, reflect on it, share your insight, carry it with awareness, and the next time you speak Amen, do not let it be habit. Let it be truth. Thanks for looking.